Thanksgiving in a Denver suburb is supposed to be predictable. Warm, loud, safe. The kind of day where the air smells like roasted turkey and brown sugar, where football hums in the background and someone complains about politics over pie. That's what I thought I was coming home to. Instead, I walked into a crime scene. It wasn't violent. There was no blood, no broken glass, just absence. I remember the cold first. The way the Colorado air followed me in from the garage, thin and sharp. I had just picked up the wine Megan asked for. The expensive bottle. The one she liked to set on the counter so guests would assume we were stable. Successful. Solid. Solid. The kitchen lights were on, too bright, almost sterile. No music. No oven timer. No clatter of dishes. Silence. And a letter. It was placed perfectly in the center of the kitchen island. Not tossed. Not folded. Positioned. Like it belonged there more than I did. I set the wine down slowly. My name wasn't written on the envelope. There wasn't even an envelope. Just a single sheet of paper. It's over. The house is sold. Be gone by Friday. 8 words. 8 words to erase 10 years. I didn't understand them at first. My brain tried to correct the sentence. Add context. Add humanity. Sover, what is? The house is sold. How? Be gone by Friday. Excuse me? I read it again. Slower. Nothing changed. Behind me, the living room floor creaked. I turned. And there he was. Derek. Sitting on my couch. Leaning back like he had been there for years. One ankle resting over his knee. Casual. Comfortable. Like he had already measured the room and decided it fit him. And beside him stood Tyler. My stepson. 17. Taller than me now. Broader shoulders. A face that still had traces of the kid I once helped with math homework. But sharpened. Hardened. He was smiling. Not a big smile. Not laughter. Just enough. Boxes lined the hallway behind them. Neatly stacked. Labeled. The framed photos from the staircase wall were gone. The one of Megan and me at Red Rocks. The one of Tyler holding the keys to the car I bought him on his 16th birthday. Gone. Even the bookshelf I built in the garage one summer, the one Megan said made the house feel real, was half empty. My mug wasn't on the coffee shelf. The chipped navy one Tyler gave me 3 years ago. World's okayest dad. Gone. That was when it hit me. This wasn't a fight. This was a transition. Megan stepped out from the dining room. Calm. Controlled. Distant. She wasn't crying. She wasn't angry. She looked efficient. The paperwork's in motion, she said, folding her arms. This is just easier. Easier. I held up the letter slightly. Easier for who? She didn't answer that. Tyler did. Real men don't overstay their welcome. The words landed softly, almost politely, but they were sharpened beforehand. I could hear it. Derek didn't say anything. He didn't have to. His presence said enough. I stood there in the kitchen I remodeled, the cabinets I repainted, the mortgage I paid. I thought about the last few months. Megan staying late at board meetings. Tyler suddenly distant. Derek appearing more often. First to help with yard work, then to look at the plumbing. Then just there. I thought about the way Tyler started saying my real dad more often, testing the phrase, rolling it around like it tasted better. I paid for his car, insurance, gas, the first semester deposit for college. When his biological father missed child support again, I quietly covered it. Megan didn't even have to ask. I never demanded gratitude. I thought consistency was enough. I thought presence was enough. But presence doesn't compete with blood. And it doesn't compete with resentment. You blindsided me, I said quietly. Megan's eyes flickered. Just for a second. No, she replied. You just didn't see it. That one hurt more than the letter. Because she was right. I had seen it. I just refused to name it. I refused to believe that 10 years of paying bills, showing up to games, staying calm through teenage storms, could be reduced to a logistical inconvenience. Tyler shifted his weight and crossed his arms tighter. The sale closes next week. We need you out before then. Not Mom. I looked at him carefully. This boy I had driven to practice in snowstorms. The one who called me when he got into a minor fender bender because he didn't want his real dad to yell at him. And now he stood beside another man on my couch. Aligned. Strategic. This was planned. Photos removed. Boxes packed. Mug gone. They didn't just want me out. They wanted me erased. I felt something strange in that moment. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Clarity. Like a fog lifting. Because if this was staged, if they could orchestrate this without hesitation, then I had been alone in this house long before tonight. I didn't yell. I didn't throw the wine bottle. I didn't demand explanations that would only be rewritten later to justify them. I flipped the paper over. Blank. I grabbed the pen from the drawer I installed 5 years ago when Megan said the kitchen lacked function. My hand was steady. I wrote 3 words. Good luck without me. No exclamation point. No underline. Just ink. I set it back exactly where it had been. Tyler laughed under his breath. That's it. I looked at him. Really looked. I hope he shows up, I said quietly. His smirk faltered. Just slightly. Megan stiffened. Derek shifted for the first time. Then I walked upstairs. My closet was already reorganized. My suits pushed to the side like they were on clearance. The dresser drawers half empty. I packed lightly. Laptop, passport, tax documents, a few changes of clothes. The house felt hollow. Not because it was empty, because I was. When I came back down, Derek was still on my couch. Tyler was sitting in my chair now, testing it. Megan stood by the window, arms crossed, watching me like I was a tenant finishing a lease. No one said stop. No one said sorry. I opened the front door. The cold hit me again. And that was it. No shouting. No scene. By that night, I was in a motel off the highway toward Albuquerque. Peeling paint. Buzzing neon. Thin blankets. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at my phone. No calls. No messages. They didn't chase. They didn't need to. They thought they had already won. And lying there, staring at a cracked ceiling that didn't belong to me, I finally understood something I had avoided for years. I wasn't removed in a single night. I was phased out. Carefully. Gradually. Replaced while I was still paying for the privilege. And if they believed I could disappear quietly, then maybe they should learn what silence really costs. The motel room smelled like bleach and old carpet. It was the kind of place people pass through, not the kind they arrive at. A single lamp hummed in the corner. The air conditioner rattled like it was choking on dust. Outside, trucks howled down the highway, engines dragging the night behind them. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at my phone. No missed calls. No messages. 10 years of marriage, 17 years of helping raise her son, and not one attempt to stop me at the door. Not one wait. That told me everything. This hadn't been an emotional detonation. It had been a transaction. Clean. Calculated. Final. I leaned back against the headboard and replayed the last 6 months like surveillance footage. Megan's late meetings. Tyler's sudden contempt. Derek appearing in rooms he had no business being in. The way I started hearing my real dad with new emphasis, like it was a correction. I wasn't replaced overnight. I was audited, measured, phased out. And the moment they believed they no longer needed me, they executed the exit. That's what hurt the most. Not betrayal. Not even humiliation. Utility. I had been useful. The mortgage auto-drafted from my account. The utilities under my name. The college fund I built quietly so Tyler wouldn't feel the absence of his biological father's check. Insurance policies. Car payments. Credit lines. I carried the infrastructure of their lives. And they thought they could detach me without consequence. That was their mistake. I opened my laptop slowly. The motel Wi-Fi was weak, but it connected. My bank dashboard loaded in blue and white. Rows of numbers. Years of labor translated into digital balances. For a long time, I just stared. I wasn't angry. Anger is loud. This was quiet. Precise. Megan said the house was sold. But I knew the paperwork. I knew the signatures required. My signature required. She had initiated the listing, but closing without me? Impossible. I opened the shared account first, the one we used for household management, groceries, utilities, insurance. I transferred my half out. Every dollar that originated from my direct deposits. Clean, legal, documented. Then I removed myself as primary holder. Froze outgoing transfers pending review. No theatrics, just clicks. Next, Tyler's tuition portal. Automatic payment scheduled for January. Cancelled. Confirmation email received. His car insurance. Removed from policy. Phone plan. Separated line. Every thread tied to my name I clipped. Not in rage. In clarity. If I had no rights in that house, I had no obligations funding it. The cursor blinked at me like a heartbeat. I leaned back and let the silence settle. For years, I told myself love was endurance. That being a stepfather meant absorbing the comparison, the subtle slights, the biological hierarchy. I convinced myself that time would fix what blood complicated. But time doesn't fix contempt. It feeds it. And Megan's silence? That was the real verdict. When Tyler said, "Real men don't overstay their welcome," she didn't correct him. She didn't defend me. She watched. That was consent. Around midnight, my phone buzzed for the first time. A single text from Megan. "Where are you?" Not "Are you okay?" Not "Can we talk?" Location. I didn't answer. Minutes later, "We need to discuss logistics." Logistics. I almost laughed. An hour passed. Then another message. "Kevin, don't make this harder." Harder for who? I set the phone face down. Sleep didn't come. Instead, I mapped everything out in my head. The house, the equity, the accounts, the fact that no sale could close without my notarized approval. She had assumed I would sign out of humiliation, that I would want to disappear quickly. She miscalculated. At dawn, I showered in lukewarm water and shaved carefully. Routine. Discipline. I needed to feel controlled. Back on the bed, I made the next call. A realtor. She answered cheerfully. "Kevin, happy Thanksgiving." I kept my voice even. "The house listing is suspended. Effective immediately. I'm not authorizing the sale." Silence. "Is everything okay?" "No," I said. "It isn't." Paper shuffled on her end. Megan indicated. I know what she indicated. I'm co-owner. Nothing closes without me. Another pause. Understood. I'll mark it pending signature dispute. Dispute. That word would travel fast. I hung up and felt something shift inside me. Not satisfaction. Not revenge. Balance. For the first time since I read that letter, the ground felt level. My phone began vibrating before noon. Megan again. This time not composed. "What did you do?" I let it ring. Voicemail followed. Her voice tight. "The realtor says you froze the sale. Kevin, we had buyers. You can't just." I deleted it. Then Tyler. 3 messages in a row. "Why is my tuition portal saying payment canceled? Did you mess with the account? Answer me. Answer me." The same boy who told me I had no rights now demanding explanation. I typed one response. "Ask your real dad." I stared at it for a full minute before sending. When it delivered, I felt nothing. That afternoon, the calls multiplied. Megan. Unknown numbers. The realtor again. Even Derek once. I didn't pick up. Because this wasn't a fight. It was a lesson. By evening, there were 14 missed calls. Then 22. Then 30. The messages shifted tone. "Kevin, please. This affects Tyler. You're overreacting." Overreacting. No. I was reacting proportionally for the first time in years. As night fell over the highway, I stepped outside the motel room and watched headlights blur past. The air smelled like gasoline and desert. Cold but clean. I realized something standing there. I wasn't grieving the marriage. I was grieving the illusion that sacrifice guarantees belonging. It doesn't. Sometimes it only guarantees dependency. And dependency turns ugly when it thinks it has outgrown you. My phone buzzed again. Tyler this time. "We overreacted." "We." Not I. No apology. Just strategy. I slid the phone into my pocket. Let them sit with it. Let them calculate. Let them feel, for once, what uncertainty tastes like. Because 3 quiet words on the back of a letter were only the beginning. And now the bill was coming due. By the second morning, the missed calls had reached 41. I counted them the way you count cracks in a wall you used to believe was solid. Megan's name stacked over and over in red. Tyler's beneath hers. Even Derek once. That one almost made me smile. The motel coffee tasted like burnt water, but I drank it anyway. I needed the bitterness. It matched the clarity settling in my chest. I had expected anger, threats, maybe even lawyers. What I got instead was panic. Megan's first voicemail that morning wasn't composed anymore. It was sharp around the edges. Kevin, the bank account is empty. The utilities are bouncing. What did you do? What did I do? I did exactly what you did. I removed myself. Only I did it legally. Tyler's messages were less polished. My insurance says I'm not covered. They're saying tuition is past due. You can't just cut me off like that. There it was again. You can't. The same certainty he had on the couch that I had no rights now flipped into entitlement. I didn't respond, because silence forces reflection. By noon, Megan escalated. Kevin, the buyers are threatening to walk. This affects all of us. Tyler is freaking out. All of us. For years. All of us meant my paycheck and their plans. Now it meant consequences. I called an attorney that afternoon. Not to attack. To understand. I explained calmly. Co-owned property. Initiated sale without mutual consent. Financial entanglement. Marital assets. The attorney's tone was measured. You're within your rights to withhold signature. Any sale requires both parties. As for joint funds, if they originated from your income, transfers are defensible. Document everything. Document everything. I had been documenting for a decade. Receipts, statements, transfers, tuition invoices, insurance premiums. I wasn't reckless. I was prepared. Late afternoon, my phone rang again. Megan. This time I answered. There was no greeting, just breathing. Then, what is wrong with you? I leaned back in the motel chair. Nothing. I'm finally aligned with reality. You drained the account. I withdrew my income. You froze the sale. I declined to sign. You're punishing Tyler. No, I said quietly. I'm stepping out of a role I was told I didn't have. Silence. Then softer. Kevin, please. We can talk about this. We had talked for 10 years. About responsibility. About respect. About boundaries. Each time, the conversation ended with me compromising. Tyler said things he didn't mean. He meant them, I replied. You just didn't correct him. Her voice cracked then. Not with sadness. With pressure. The tuition office called. They're threatening to cancel his enrollment. I closed my eyes briefly. I pictured Tyler on that couch. The smirk. The line about real men. Then his real dad should step in, I said. That's not fair. Fair. Was it fair to fund a household where I was a visitor? Fair ended when you handed me an eviction notice in my own kitchen. She didn't respond. The line stayed open, heavy with things neither of us would admit. Finally she whispered, Derek says you're being vindictive. I almost laughed. Derek can say whatever he wants from my couch. The call ended there. That evening, Tyler texted again. I'm about to lose everything. For the first time, the arrogance was gone. No demands. No commands. Just fear. I stared at the message for a long time. Lose everything. Did he understand what everything meant? Everything was the mortgage paid on time. The car in the driveway. The phone in his hand. The tuition deposit that let him brag about college plans. Everything was invisible until it stopped. I typed slowly. You told me I had no place in your life. This is what that looks like. He didn't respond immediately. An hour later, we were angry. You didn't deserve that. Not I'm sorry. Not I was wrong. You didn't deserve that. Passive. Detached. Megan called again after dark. this time crying. Kevin. The electric company posted a shut-off warning. The joint account covered that. I don't have access now. You have Derek, I said. That's not. This isn't about him. It was entirely about him. Tyler is upset, she continued. He said he overreacted. He wants to fix this. Fix? You don't fix a fracture by pretending it didn't snap. You staged my removal, I said quietly. Boxes packed. Photos gone. Mug missing. That wasn't anger. That was a decision. She didn't deny it. Instead she said, we thought you'd fight. There it was. They expected noise. A scene. Something they could label unstable. I'm not fighting, I replied. I'm withdrawing. The word hung between us like smoke. When the call ended, I felt something unfamiliar. Not triumph. Not revenge. Distance. Clean distance. The next morning, my email filled with notifications. Mortgage lender alerting both parties of account changes. Realtor updating listing status to on hold. Pending signature. Insurance company confirming policy modifications. Every institution recognized my name. Every contract required my consent. I wasn't invisible in the systems that mattered. By afternoon, the messages shifted again. Let's meet. Let's negotiate. Tyler is devastated. Devastated. He wasn't devastated when he stood beside Derek. He was confident. Now he was calculating. I packed my few belongings from the motel and drove farther south that evening. Toward Tucson. Toward distance that felt intentional. The desert opened wide and indifferent. As the miles stretched, my phone buzzed again. Tyler. Please. We overreacted. I shouldn't have said that. There it was. Almost. I pulled over at a rest stop and read it twice. 17 years old. Old enough to understand words have weight. Old enough to know loyalty isn't just genetic. I typed one final message before turning the phone face down. Respect isn't something you request when you're desperate. It's something you practice when you're comfortable. I didn't block them. I didn't threaten them. I simply let the silence expand. Because the house wasn't sold. The accounts weren't funded. The future they had choreographed depended on the man they had already removed. And now they were learning the difference between replacement and responsibility. As the sun dropped behind the desert mountains, I understood something with brutal clarity. Sometimes the loudest thing you can do in a family that erases you is nothing at all. Tucson was quiet in a way Denver never was. The desert doesn't beg. It doesn't explain itself. It just exists wide, exposed, unapologetic. I rented a small apartment on the edge of the city. 1 bedroom, bare walls, no history in it, no framed memories waiting to be removed. The first night there, I sat on the floor because I hadn't bought furniture yet. The tile was cool under my palms. The silence wasn't tense. It wasn't expectant. It was clean. My phone still lit up every few hours. Megan's name, Tyler's, sometimes both within minutes of each other, like they were coordinating urgency. But the tone had changed completely. No more accusations. No more outrage. Just need. Kevin, please call me. We can fix this. Tyler hasn't been sleeping. The buyers walked. We're under financial pressure. Under financial pressure. I used to carry that pressure alone. Quietly. Now they felt it. And it sounded like panic. I didn't respond. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't reacting to their emotions. I was observing them. A week passed. I transferred my remote work officially to a new address. Changed billing information. Updated every account tied to my name. Each click felt like removing fingerprints from a crime scene I hadn't committed. The house remained unsold. The mortgage payment reminder came and went. I paid my half directly to the lender. Megan would have to find hers. That was the part she hadn't calculated. I wasn't trying to take the house. I was simply refusing to carry it alone. Tyler called late one night. Not text. Called. I let it ring twice before answering. He didn't speak immediately. I could hear his breathing. Unsteady. Kevin, he said finally. Not Dad. Not anything else. Just my name. Yes. I messed up. There was no script in his voice this time. No confidence. I shouldn't have said what I said. I was angry. I thought you'd always just stay. There it was. Assumption. Permanence without respect. I did stay, I said quietly. For 10 years. Silence on the line. Then softer. Derek isn't. He's not helping like we thought. He says it's not his responsibility. Of course he does. Responsibility is easy when someone else funds it. And your father? I asked. Another pause. Longer this time. He said he can't cover tuition. Not like that. I closed my eyes. I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt confirmation. Tyler inhaled sharply. I didn't think you'd actually leave. That sentence settled heavily in my chest. He didn't think I'd leave. Not because he loved me, because he believed I wouldn't. Belief without appreciation is exploitation. I didn't leave, I said. I stepped back. Are you coming home? He asked. Home. The word sounded foreign. I don't have one there anymore, I replied. His voice cracked slightly. Mom's stressed. The bank called. She's saying we might have to refinance or sell lower. These were adult consequences. Real ones. Numbers and deadlines and signatures. I'm not trying to destroy you, I said evenly. I'm just not going to fund being disrespected. I know, he whispered. Another silence. Then, almost breaking, I shouldn't have stood next to him like that. That image flashed in my mind. Tyler beside Derek on my couch. The smirk. The alliance. You chose your side, I said. And you chose it publicly. I thought that's what I was supposed to do. By who? He didn't answer. Because the answer was obvious. When we ended the call, I sat in the dark for a long time. I didn't feel victorious. I felt older. Megan texted the next morning. He called you, didn't he? Yes. Kevin. He's just a kid. No, I typed back. He's a young man who made a calculated choice. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. I never wanted this to happen like this, she wrote. But it did, I replied. Another week passed. The calls slowed. The desperation faded into something quieter. Acceptance, maybe, or resentment settling into a new shape. I furnished the apartment slowly. A table, a couch, a coffee mug I bought myself. Plain white, no jokes on it. One afternoon, Megan called again. Calm this time. We're restructuring things, she said. I picked up extra shifts. Tyler's looking at community college for now. Practical solutions. Finally. I'm not your enemy, I told her. I know, she said after a pause. I just didn't think you'd draw the line. That was the lesson. They never thought I would. For years, I endured comparison to a man who never stayed. I absorbed teenage contempt. I accepted silence where defense should have been. I mistook tolerance for strength. But strength without boundaries invites erasure. Tyler texted me once more before the month ended. I get it now. Just that. No request. No manipulation. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. Understanding often arrives only when comfort disappears. I still pay my half of the mortgage until the legal separation is finalized. I don't sabotage. I don't retaliate. I simply refuse to subsidize disrespect. The desert sunsets are sharp and unforgiving. They don't soften the horizon. They expose it. Sitting on my small balcony one evening, watching the sky burn orange and violet, I realized something with uncomfortable clarity. I wasn't angry anymore. I was finished. Finished trying to earn a place that should have been given freely after years of sacrifice. Finished competing with a ghost. Finished funding the illusion that love means endurance without limits. Maybe one day Tyler will understand fully. Maybe Megan will replay that Thanksgiving and see the moment they crossed a line they thought didn't exist. Or maybe they won't. Either way, I am no longer standing in a house where my presence is optional but my paycheck is mandatory. So tell me, was I wrong to walk out quietly and let them feel the absence they engineered? Or would you have stayed? smiling at a table where your chair was already taken?